Hello, Tampa. It's Saturday morning, and it's time for the Let's Go Low show. This is your host, Jeff Stanislow from Golfers Unite. Our special guest, once again, Mike Hicks from MikeHicksGolf.com. Mike is Payne Stewart's former caddy, and he always joins us on the Caddy Corner right here on the Let's Go Low show. How you doing today, Mike?
Oh, hanging in there, Jeff. How about you, buddy?
Good, good. So we're kind of winding down the golf season here a little bit, and we had a kind of an exciting 3M Open up there in Minnesota at the TPC Twin Cities, and kind of the golf world got a shock, and maybe the next superstar is being born, because this kid Jackson Koivun, 21 years old, took down the title. And outpaced the likes of Scottie Scheffler. So what are your thoughts on this youngster, coming in? And have you had an eye on him at all, or, what's he doing right?
Well, I mean, player of the year in college the last 2 years. So, and I've watched him play, on TV, the NCAA's last couple of years. Unique swing, a lot of side bend. Makes me wonder, are there going to be some health issues there long term, in the future, down the road somewhere. It's a lot of torque being channeled on that back, and just interesting swing, but probably best putter in the world right now. It reminds me a lot of Spieth. The kid just, can putt it. So he's not scared, right? I mean, he's 21 years old. He believes in his game. He is not intimidated by anybody. He knows when he's on, and you're probably not going to beat him. Hats off to him. Good for golf, right?
Yeah, it's great for golf having that, that fresh name. And I think a lot of people, at least on the socials and everything around that, and the people watching the tournament, they're I think they're jonesing for, the next Spieth, the next, Thomas, the next Scottie Scheffler, the next Tiger Woods. They're hoping and praying and see what happens with this young man. But yeah, there were some interesting articles that I read about his swing, and how long will that side swing support his golf game. But at 21, go out there and get it done, and then work with your guys to if the health conditions change over time, then you adapt your swing a little bit. But what a great round. This is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 Saturday morning with our special guest, Caddy's Corner, Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's former caddy. Talk to us about his putting. I mean, he was lights out on putting, very, very confident, and he's got kind of a unique approach to his putting and the system that he does. He kind of makes the putt behind the ball. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the original sports psychologist would not have liked his routine, but you see a lot of guys kind of doing a lot of the rehearsal behind the ball now, so that theory's kind of thrown out the window. I think it's just whatever works for you. The one thing that he does is it's consistent. He does the same thing every time, right? Which is what golf's all about, is repeating, everything you do on the golf course, right? Your pre-shot routine, your swing. You're just trying to, to do it over and over and over. So he's got a beautiful stroke. I mean, just tempo, the way the putter swings, all of its mechanics. I mean, he's just a great putter. So
one question that I had, and I think the rules have changed. So if he gets in his address, kind of behind the ball in his routine and makes that putt and he strikes the ball, I think the announcers and people were talking about that being an inadvertent strike, and then he could reset and make a
Yeah,
different putt.
yeah, it's got to be intent there to hit the putt. So, it's yeah, they've changed the rules over the years, which are there good changes. He's not intending to strike the putt yet, so there'll be no penalty. But
Yeah.
he, unique routine. He does it same thing every time. So that's what it's all about for all these if there are any young golfers listening, that's what you want to develop as a pre-shot, routine in your long game and your short game, that you do the same thing every time before you strike the ball.
Yeah, I mean it's really interesting, and it was just great to see and watch. I mean, I love the confidence that he had on Sunday. He knew Scottie was coming, and Scottie was playing pretty well. Scottie knew he had to get to 25, 26 under to win it. But Jackson Koivun, just got it done. I mean, and he just third start as a professional 5 weeks after his final amateur round. And that's pretty amazing. That he can do that at 21 years old.
Scottie did what he had to do. He posted, he shot 8 under yesterday to post 22. So you figure the kid starts Sunday's round at 20 under. If he is nervous and is playing defensive golf, then Scottie shot the round he had to shoot, right? That means Koivun would have had to have shot 2 under just to get in a playoff, which is what would have happened to most rookies in that situation, especially that being your third start. But this kid's special, and like I said, he's not scared. Even though he saw Scottie coming and posting, he's kept his foot on the gas, right? He knew he had control of his ball, and he was putting great. He was trying to birdie every hole. Instead of playing defense, he played offense, and that's why he won.
Yeah, I mean, Scottie, just didn't get it done. Another, difficult season for Scottie overall. I mean, a good season. Any other golfer probably would be very happy with the season, but just not getting it done. Another second place, finish. But one thing I saw that I thought was a pretty cool anecdote. This is Jeff Stanislow. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 in Tampa. We thank you guys for all listening. This episode is brought to you by Golfers Unite. It's golfersunite.com. Check it out. A lot of great deals and things related to golf at golfersunite.com. And also our Caddie Corner with Mike Hicks, Mike Hicks Golf. It's MikeHicksGolf.com. Mike is available if someone has a special event or a special occasion. Maybe he wants to get Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's former caddy, on the bag or speak at an event or something like that. Go to MikeHicksGolf.com and check it out. But the anecdote that I saw, he wrote "dominate" on his glove on Sunday.
Yeah.
And closed out a bogey-free round.
Yeah.
So, which is incredible. His mindset was there.
Yeah,
it didn't look shaken. I think maybe on 17, you could see it in his face a little bit. 17, 18, 18 was a little bit more of a relief after after the 17's par. And so he had a few shots to work with. So I think he was really excited. But, one of the things I had to ask you is just, that Sunday round, you're on his bag, an amateur, 21 years old, young guy, just coming off of, being an amateur a few weeks before. What are you talking to him about as a caddy?
Well, I think in this case, this kid is mentally, takes accountability for his game. I didn't see him relying on his caddy for a whole lot of information. You didn't see a whole lot of discussion going on, a lot of hemming and hawing about what club to hit, blah, 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 which tells me that, he's accountable for his golf, and he's pretty much making the decisions. So, I don't even know who it was caddying for him. It's probably some buddy, teammate, who knows? I don't know who it was. but he's his own guy, and he's, the greats are calling the shots. No matter, the greats ask for information, but they're going to make the final call. And if it's right or wrong, the greats, if it's wrong, aren't going to blame anybody but themselves. So, and this kid strikes me as one of those guys, right?
Yeah, I noticed that too. And plus, his caddy, David Flynn, and him, really just started working together here pretty soon. So,
Yeah.
as a player, I think you got to rely on your own game until you kind of get a feel for your caddy and
Right.
some symbiotic relationship. And but I think you're forced into that position and trusting yourself. Maybe that changes a little bit over time as the relationship grows. This is Jeff Stanislaw. You're listening to Let's Go Low right here on AM 820, brought to you by Golfers Unite, golfersunite.com. And our guest, Mike Hicks, Payne Stewart's former caddy. You can check out his stuff at MikeHicksGolf.com. So, what a win, though, to set up his pro career. So, he puts, 1.5 million into his bag, 500 FedEx points, 2-year tour exemption, and putting him close to the run 70th on the FedEx. So he might have an opportunity to get into that before the end of the year. But just excellent display of golf. Fantastic, a young man. Obviously, we don't know a lot about him as a person yet. There hasn't been a lot of interviews and things of that nature. That stuff will come up. But this week, let's talk a little bit about, we got the Rocket Classic. This is going to be the last one in Detroit. They did not renew. And so we got, it's the end of an era there in Detroit. I think part of it is because I think they got a new TGL team that they're going to put some, golf sponsorship and stuff behind. Plus probably just all the shift going on with announcements of the changes between the championship and Challenger Tour with the PGA. But have you got a chance to play Detroit Country Club at the Ross there?
Yeah, I've been there. Excuse me, my dog's getting my lap.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, I've been there. I mean, it's a typical Ross. It'll be just like last week. They'll be throwing darts. The greens will be soft, and they'll shoot 20 under. And don't be surprised if this Koivun kid does it again. He strikes me as one of these kids that could just not be mentally worn out from winning and be able to contend again this week. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I wouldn't be surprised to see his name on the leaderboard on Sunday. So, but it's the same setup. They'll shoot the grass off the place usually.
Yeah, they put a $16 million restoration into the course after last year's tournament, the Donald Ross North course at Detroit Golf Club. They made it longer, some tougher bunkering, and some firmer play. So we'll see how that all shakes down.
Yeah, so maybe it will be low to mid teens instead of 20. Maybe they toughened it up enough where it's not just a birdie fest. So that'd be fun if they did that.
And the field's looking good. They got 10 major champions, 21 players in the top 50 going to Detroit. Xander, Brooks are playing it for the first time. Spieth committed, and obviously Ricky Fowler, because he's had some great success at Detroit and is part of Rocket Mortgage, marketing strategies. So we'll see what happens there in Detroit. Who do you like, going into it for the weekend?
Whoever's, the renovations, I don't know how much tougher the course is going to be. That could play a factor where it's not a birdie fest and it's not just a putting contest. So that brings a whole, different mix of players in. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, if it's soft, no wind, I don't really care what they've done to it. These guys are gonna shoot low. If the greens are holding and they're basically throwing darts, they'll still shoot the place up. I kind of think, if I remember correctly, that place is pretty landlocked, so I don't know how much more length they could have put on it. But who knows? Like I said, I won't be surprised if Koivun's right there again.
Fantastic. This is another episode of Let's Go Low right here on AM 820 Tampa. Thanks for all the wonderful support. Get a chance, check out golfersunite.com and MikeHicksGolf.com. We'll be back at you for another episode with Mike shortly. Thank you again for tuning in, Tampa. This is Jeff Stanislow with Let's Go Low.